Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and guess what just came out? Oh boy, Chapter 6 of the Rivals of Ixalan storyline. Not only am I pretty sure they got the release date wrong, because I could have sworn they said it was going to be the 16th. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But I believe they said this is when we'll find out who controls Orazca, which the pirates and Huatli already left. Oh, and the vampires and the merfolk. Actually, everybody left. I hope the apes take over, and then we get a Planet of the Apes set. That's where my vote actually was. Yeah, I didn't like the options, so I just manually wrote "I vote for monkeys" and just mailed it to Wizards of the Coast. That is 100% not true, by the way. But I did vote for Pat Buchanan because the ballot was confusing. So if you recall, we ended Chapter 5 with the most racist, insensitive, stereotypical, idiotic, Aztecs are basically just Mexicans, right? Mexican family party dinner thing? I feel like if I speak Spanish, I should know what those are called. We'll say fiesta. So she had a lovely fiesta and then planeswalked away to somewhere. I think she said she's just going to planeswalk to some places for 1 week and then come back. So this is interesting. You might remember that when she first had her spark ignite or whatever you call it, she tried to planeswalk out or accidentally planeswalked or whatever, and then apparently you can kind of see where you're planeswalking to, but then as soon as you try to finalize it, then you get snapped back by, the immortal sun. Well, she thought that she was seeing Orazca, but they clearly stated that she had accidentally planeswalked to Kaladesh. So this chapter actually starts with her going to Kaladesh because she wanted to see what's, quote, on the other side of the sun, which was a story arc that went literally nowhere. Just absolutely not one place. Didn't even make sense at the time and went nowhere. They just kind of shoved it in. They're like, oh, by the way, this is what she was thinking the whole time. Okay. So it just starts with Huatli couldn't stop smiling. She emerged into a city unlike any she had seen before, except she literally saw Orazca, and they're so similar, and gold is really, really big on Kaladesh that she couldn't tell the difference, I guess. Although, she hadn't seen Orazca at that time. So she's like, damn, this is a whole city and stuff. They got machines and robots, and people ride around in these weird spheres and stuff, and there's little metal dudes run around. And the little sphere things, they're they go up ways and sideways and down ways and back ways and forward ways. And on top of it, the wallpaper has schnozberries that taste like schnozberries. So she just walk around damn, they got marketplaces open. They're selling inventions and food and everything smells great. And then there's these little humanoids, and then there's the big humanoids, and then there's the blue people, aka the Videlkin, aka the Smurf cats. Just kidding, those are the ones from Avatar. And she's just 6 fingers. They have 6 fingers on their hand. By the way, if you haven't noticed, Videlkin have 6 fingers. I'm not joking you. Look it up in the artwork. Just look at Dovin Bond. Just the Planeswalker Dovin Bond. But guys, I have terrible, terrible news. I don't even know how to break this to you. If you're in a good mood, this is going to crush it. If you're having a good day, this is going to ruin it. You might, when you hear this, just be struck by the most unbelievably powerful crippling depression that can ever hit a human. The next paragraph states, in no uncertain terms, that her piping hot tamales did not make it through metaphysical space, as they put it, because apparently the author doesn't know what the blind eternities are. It says, and I quote, none of her tamales had made it through the journey. Wait, that is the strangest way to phrase that. I thought I misread it, but that's how they wrote it. They had crumbled to an inedible dust somewhere in the metaphysical space between Ixalan and Hair. Rest in peace, delicious piping hot tamales. But she traded a piece of amber from her home for a bag full of odd-looking coins, which I guarantee you she tried to eat. It doesn't say that, but I guarantee you she did. If we all hold hands, hug each other, and talk about our feelings, we might be able to get past the loss of the tamales. But you guys know, I love Jose Ole chimichangas, especially the breakfast types. Those are delicious. I love tamales. I love taquitos. Están mis favoritos. And what's really the worst about this tragedy is there's no reason for this to happen, okay? Planeswalkers have traveled with traveling rations before. They can bring organic materials with them. Clothing is made out of cotton, usually, in wool, Leather armor, it's not like other organic or biological material can't planeswalk. There was no reason for the loss of the tamales. None. I don't even know if I could read the rest of this. So apparently she's getting a lot of stares because, well, you saw what she usually wears. But then she said it's always followed up with compliments on the intricacies of her armor. Somebody walked up to her and said, "What craftsmanship? By the way, craftspersonship, excuse me. Who's your artificer?" And then Huatli just smiled and announced, "I have no idea what that is." So she asked one of the shopkeepers, "Hey, I'm a visitor. Where do we go to see something awesome?" And she's like, "Oh, cool, center of town. Gotcha." And so she goes up and there's like a stage, and there's people on the stage holding pads of paper and writing utensils. So it says she found her people. Yes. Liberal arts college members, let's say, because that's her people. You know, those people all gravitate to each other, those hipster, like douchey, like, oh, art is so important types. Oh my gosh, I can't stand those people. Art is not important. Real, actual, practical things are important. Build a nuclear fusion reactor that works, okay? Then I'll be like, yeah, you built something cool. Not some ugly, freaking taxpayer-funded sculpture or whatever. So it turns out there's a guy on stage, like, presenting basically, like, some kind of Shark Tank thing, because he's like, here's my invention, and there's people, like, taking notes on it. And then I think one of them said, and for those reasons, I'm out. He invented a aether regulator, which I don't quite get what it does. He says it's an energy regulator for aether-consuming devices, except not devices, it's for aether-made people. In other words, the Aetherborn, which I still don't really know much about that, didn't really read it. He said it's basically like a medical device that will ease uncomfortable symptoms of dissipation, which is apparently their like aging and dying thing, and allow Aetherborn persons a more dignified, pain-free transition back into the Aether cycle. And the audience clapped. I found it so convincing, I bought a 15% stake in his company for $1 million. So if I were to summarize the rest of that section, Huatli's like, wow, what a great invention, I think maybe, for these people that I just found out about a couple minutes ago. Also, what's the Aether cycle and who are these people? And then the sheer probability of this just makes me sick to my ass. A woman comes up to her and she tugs on her sleeve and says, "Hey, are you from here? It's Saheeli Rai." Because, of course, the two affirmative action hires to the storyline are going to meet each other. Why not? Probably because Saheeli had really no part in the storyline whatsoever. She was just like, here, look, a woman, and she's colored. Yay, pat ourselves on the back. And then she did, like, nothing. Oh, wait, she did do something significant. You already know what joke's coming. You already know it. Do I even have to say it? She broke standard. Rosa Parks was famous for refusing to get up. She kept sitting down on that bus. And Saheeli Rai is famous for preventing people from sitting down to play at F&M. So, of course, Huatli replies, "No, I'm from out of town." The woman's eyes darted back and forth. She leaned in even closer. Off of plane out of town? Which I think grammatically should have a comma but doesn't. Yeah, like, it's two adjective phrases. Anyway, let's move past it. So Huatli smiles and says, "You're a planeswalker too!" And the woman says, "Not here." Is it like illegal to be a planeswalker? I think Dovinbon is a planeswalker. He's on a planeswalker card. Didn't have to think too hard about that one. What the hell? So once they finally get to like some park where there's like not people around and they can talk in private, I still don't really get the premise, but I also didn't read the lore. So she says, "I apologize for interrupting. My name is Saheeli. Your outfit is incredible. I had a hunch you might be a planeswalker too." Let me just ask one question here. How? I'm going to guess it involves two words, and those two very important words are because and story. Or because outfit, but I mean, like anybody dressed weird, you just walk up and automatically you're a planeswalker. Oh, and for the record, let me just throw this in here. She was not riding around on a dinosaur, okay? Because that would have given it away. So they're just like, "Oh, what's the name of this plane? Where are you from?" And this is my first time planeswalking. Oh my gosh. So when Saheeli asks about her plane, she's like, let me think. How would I describe it? And then out of nowhere, "It is a land as bright as the sun, the air thick with light, and the soil dark with life. Endless trees coating endless vistas, and dinosaurs answer the songs of my people." And then, of course, Saheeli says, "What's a dinosaur?" Which actually, that brings up a good, interesting thing here. Why do the people on all different planes all speak the same language? Now, I do actually have a pretty reasonable theory about that. I think this one makes sense logically, actually. It's because story. Oh, and also because, I mean, they couldn't completely rip off Stargate SG-1. So then Huatli's like, some are like really small, and then some are as big as a building. Do you not have those here? So he was like, no, but I'd love to make one. And then Huatli's like, what? So she's like, we are going to my workshop right now because I have to build whatever this is you're talking about, which I could have sworn there was at the very least, a very large lizard in the set somewhere. I mean, there's like filigree familiar, not really a dinosaur, more of like a, I don't know, a fennec fox or something. But I mean, okay, the Gearhulks, those are more like, you know, Gundams. But I thought I saw like at least like a millipede or is it like something that was kinda dinosaur-ish. Kinda. I thought it was one of the non-vehicle large artifacts or something. I don't know, I might be imagining that. So Huatli's like, okay, can I help? Even though she literally said, quote, we are going back to my workshop right now, as in like we, and then Huatli's like, can I help? She's a little thick, I think. I don't know. And I don't mean she's got thunder thighs. I'm not saying she doesn't though. So she's like, of course you can help. You're the expert. I need to know everything about dinosaurs. And Huatli's like, oh my God. So they run off to go build a dinosaur. I guess that's the end of that section. The next section. Are you guys freaking ready for this? It's titled Angrath. Oh my God. The last time we heard from Angrath, let me just quote him here. The last line of dialogue that we heard from Angrath. I hate this plane. I hate this city, and I wish you all a viscerally painful death. See you never, pathetic fools. And then he planeswalked away. Angrath is the greatest thing to happen to the storyline ever. Okay, this is like so super short, and I'm sure it's totally awesome. Haven't read it yet. I'm just going to read the whole thing. Angrath. It looked just like he remembered. The road was dusty and broad, peppered here and there with stores that had been in business longer than he had been alive. Oh, that's impressive, actually. It was a sleepy sort of place, and Angrath was happy very little had changed. A little plume of smoke was rising from his foundry. A hand-painted window on the outside read open in blocky lettering. The building was little more than a shack on the far end of town, but it had been his shack on the far end of town. Piles of iron and metal were stacked outside, and a number of items and weapons were hung on a rack, each tagged to mark which order was which. Very good inventory system, by the way. Angrath's ear flicked as he heard the clang of metal and sizzle of water inside. He approached, and his chains clanked with every step he took. Angrath ducked slightly to avoid hitting his head on the doorway. He could still make out the bumps in the wood from every time he had forgotten. Nice. And paused as he looked for the blacksmith at work. 2 minotaurs glanced up from their anvils. They were tall like their mother had been. They wore bulky leather aprons, and their horns were adorned with the jewelry worn by unmarried women of their age. Their eyes went wide. The one on the right snorted in shock. The other's ears stood up in surprise. The one on the right sniffed the air and trembled with emotion. Father? Steam softly hissed where Angrath's tears met his skin. He smiled. Rumi, Jamira. Oh, I thought their name was the one on the right and the one that wasn't on the right. It was starting to get a little bit disrespectful there. Anyway, he says, I'm home. And that's the end of it. Oh my God, touchy-feely crap without snarky commentary. Come on. Come on. You did to Angrath what you did to Jace. That's ridiculous. Well, that was a waste of a subchapter. No, seriously, though. It's nice that, like, we have confirmation that he made it home and got reunited with his family and all that, because it had been, I believe he said 4 years, I think? Or maybe it was like 40, because, I mean, that immortal son had been there. Oh, wait, but he could have arrived whenever. I don't know. I think he said 4 years. So the next section is Vraska. Now, remember, Jace took all of her memories of him and anything involving her considering backstabbing him or whatever. So as far as she knows personally, like she completed the mission, and then if Nicol Bolas reads her mind, then he'll think that she just completed the mission, just straight up, oh, here it is. And then he's going to allegedly make her the leader of the whatever guild. Oh yeah, the Golgari. I'm like 72% certain. So she tries to planeswalk back to the place that she met Bolas in the first place, I believe it was. It's just titled the Meditation Plane. So I guess it's like a super empty plane that Bolas just goes to when he wants to read a book or something. Oh, slight correction. She planeswalked back to Ravnica, and then she's like, cool, I'm home. And then when she picked up a book that she had been reading, which really doesn't make sense, tucked inside of it was a new letter. Because remember, that's how Nicol Bolas contacted her in the first place. He like teleported a little scroll or piece of paper parchment into like a book that she was reading or something, which was kind of weird, but kind of cool. And so that said meditation plane. And then she's like, oh, okay, cool. So Bolas was already there waiting. And apparently it's like this really cool, just if you're interested, it's called Pools of Becoming. Look up that card. It's one of the plane chase cards. And the name of the plane, even on the plane card, is called Bolas's Meditation Realm. Don't know why they called it a realm instead of a plane. It just looks like a really cool place to go wakeboarding. So naturally, he read her mind, like, super thoroughly, like, to the point where she could, like, feel it, because, you know, obviously, duh, he wants to make sure that she's not, like, double-crossing him, because that's totally something she would do. Oh, and the first time she met him, she thought to herself, I could always double-cross him, and then he, like, said in her mind, no. He was like, no, you steal Immortal Sun, now I give you Lemon Pledge. And so they really go extensive with this. It's like, oh, Vraska didn't mind. She was proud of what she accomplished. She remembered journeying upriver, alone, specifically, on a boat, without Jace. Bravely diving into the river that ran through the city, without Jace. Watching a sphinx rampage through... yeah, they spelled that wrong. Rampage through Orazca, without Jace. So he just like deleted himself from all the memories and like constructed like edited versions and then covered it up and stuff. So then like these are just manufactured memories because you guys know this didn't happen. So the Azor like rampaged through Orazca and then she stood on top of the immortal sun. And then it says that like she targeted the Sphinx and dozens of other enemies and turned them all into solid gold, which once again never happened. So if you're wondering, you know, the card Golden Demise, that never happened. Like that artwork and the everything, that she never did that. This is her false memory. So the card is like a real card but a false memory, which is actually like kind of neat, I guess. Card kind of sucks though. So it says Nicol Bolas was, you know, perfectly happy with what he saw, and she was happy that he was happy, and he practically beamed with joy, which definitely seems within his personality. His claws curled in pleasure. Well done, Vraska, he said. You will be rewarded for your loyalty and your amazing voice acting. I personally hope that this story wins an Emmy. So it says that she felt the weight of something just sort of appear in her pocket. He goes, oh, it's a gift, faithful servant. You have earned a kingdom of your own design. Which, that sounds neat. I thought he said that she'd be the head of the Golgari, but that's good too, I guess. So she's like, hey, thanks for trusting me. And he's like, hey, the thanks are all mine. I would very much like to work with you again in the future. So that's interesting potential, maybe foreshadowing or whatever. And then Nicol Bolas said that he's going to leave like a 5-star, perfect, very positive review on her Facebook and Angie's List and Yelp. And also GorgonAssassins.com. So she planeswalks back to Ravnica, to her house or whatever. Even though they said that arriving in a specific location on a plane was incredibly difficult, they're never going to regret writing that in the storyline, and I'm never going to stop mentioning it. It was just really convenient for the plot of Amonkhet, okay? But she says, yeah, the meeting had only taken a few minutes, which honestly sounded like a few seconds. But Bolas had been satisfied, and yet she found herself thinking that he had missed something important, or it was her who missed something. She felt unsettled, though she could not remember anything that might be missing. Or why? Well, if you're aware that something isn't right, then Jace's mental magic didn't really work all that well. But Bolas seemed happy. Or did he? So this is interesting. She finally reached for what was in her pocket. And it says she pulled out a small piece of paper. And it's in all caps, it says, he is alone and imprisoned here. It read, and in the same wandering flourish as Nicol Bolas' earlier message, yeah, he has very distinct handwriting. Congratulations, guild leader Vraska. The location listed below the message was in a sparsely populated corner of the city. A perfect place to deal with filth in an appropriately sinister manner. So apparently that's like the location of the hiding guild leader, I guess. And then if she kills him, she can become guild leader. I don't know. Maybe that's a rule in their guild. I have no idea. And the section ends with her just saying she contemplated what she ought to say to Jarad before she petrified him. So I think he's the guild leader or something. I don't know. Ideally, from a tactical standpoint, you would say nothing and just turn him to stone and get the damn job done, instead of like, oh, I'm a villain, I'm going to give a monologue first. So the next section is Jace, and just like I suspected, because they did not spell this out, he turned himself invisible just as the Immortal Sun vanished, because then she wouldn't see him after he already like erased her memories temporarily. And said he was there the whole time as they, quote, bickered and left in a huff, which is exactly what they were doing. So when Malcolm and Breaches were leaving, he sent them another telepathic message saying, Captain is safe but far away. I'm leaving for a while, but need you to tell the crew how much you all meant to me. Which is weird, because I thought that's what Vraska told him to say on her behalf, but he's saying it as though he's saying it, but I'm sure he means it too. But then he probably should have, like, told them whatever. Oh, I love this. Once everybody left the chamber, it says Jace knew he needed to go to Dominaria, but paused. Is it because he gotta wait for the core set? Is that why? Is that why you're waiting, Jace? Is that why? I had to make the joke. So he just like thinks of Vraska and how great she is and blah, 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 blah. I just threw up on my desk. And then it says, Jace smiled to himself and looked around the sanctum. It was a beautiful room despite the massive hole in the ceiling. Literally every house I've looked at so far, by the way. Whatever, I ain't getting a mortgage this year anyway. There's no way in hell I'd qualify. Then these SJW idiots had to throw in this line. Well, I gotta lead up to it. The tan was real. The scrapes, the newly calloused hands, the muscles, with an exclamation mark in parentheses for no reason, were all his. Jace felt proud of his body for the first time in his life. Hashtag healthy at any size, which, by the way, is biologically not true. Hey, did you guys hear that the head of the Fat Acceptance Committee that advised the U.S. Congress died because of complications of obesity when he was 38? Anyway, they had already contradicted this and said that Jace wasn't as muscular or fit as he looked. He told Vraska that for the last, like, forever, as long as you can remember, which ironically is who knows how long, he, like, altered his looks with constant illusion magic. So the theory was he's like 400 pounds or something. Or just he's like, it kind of had a connotation that he was like super like skinny and not strong at all. But no, it says he looked down at himself and he's like legitimately muscled and they're all his, which implies that it's not an illusion. So buff Beefcake Jace is apparently real Jace from the last Planeswalker card. And then he says he must not lose track of it now. Gideon would help with that. He'd been trying to foist a workout regimen? Isn't it regiment, or is that the plural version? Anyway, on Jace for a year now, which is weird because I don't think they've been working together for a year. But it does kind of imply that like he's happy that he's actually fit and like physically capable now, because he was like a total weakling before, but he was hiding it with illusion magic, which is interesting, I guess. So then he thinks for a second, he's like, wait a minute. What am I supposed to say when I meet the Gatewatch? And it says he began to panic. Do any of them know Vraska? What if they're in the middle of something? What if they have already left for somewhere else? Yeah, it's been like 3 months, by the way. And I can't find them to tell them about Ravnica, which is where Nicol Bolas is like going, and that's where the plan is, and whatever. What if they went back to Innistrad or Kaladesh or Zendikar? What if they're with Ugin, which I thought specifically he was the only one who knew where Ugin was or that he was live. What the hell am I supposed to say to Ugin? That's a good question. Actually, let me answer that. Why didn't you spring the trap? Why didn't it work? Oh, wait, no, because he fought Bolas and then lost, but then the time-traveling Sarkhan made him not actually die, and then he was in a cocoon, and then he woke up 1,000 years later, so I mean, I guess he kind of already has the why. And then he internal monologues, and I quote, hey, so about your friend, you know, the one you haven't talked to in 1,000 years, you know, Azor. He's on an island now because he's terrible. Literally what it says. I mean, it's not wrong. Also, you were trying to use me to lure Bolas to Ixalan to be imprisoned, weren't you? Now, see, I don't know anything about that storyline, but that's actually interesting. What stopped you on Tarkir? Has everything you've ever done actually just been about defeating Nicol Bolas? If so, we're going to need you to step up. See, told you, Ugin's gotta go fight Nicol Bolas. I called that like a year ago. And then we get this cringy BS. He's like, okay, Ravnica's gotta come first because I'm the Living Guild Pact. I am someone who devises a plan so a pirate captain can sabotage a dragon. That is who I am. That's just bad writing is what that is. And then they throw in another statement that's just massively provably false. Planeswalking was tricky business. It was imperfect, and destinations could usually only be reached if one had been there before. Just think about the logic of that for a second. So in other words, no planeswalker can planeswalk anywhere. Ever. They can never leave their home plane because they've only been to that one plane. Okay. Then he says, more often than not, traveling to a new plane was achieved by focusing on a familiar planeswalker, which once again has been proved to be not how it works at all. Jace's first instinct was, to reach his friends on Dominaria by focusing on Liliana. See, that it's because story. We're going to rewrite the physics of planeswalking because it's convenient for the story. But then he's like, I don't have the same feelings for Liliana because it was such an abusive relationship and I like Vraska more now. And now when I think of her, I just feel sick, which every ex-girlfriend ever, am I right? High five your screen right now. I am high-fiving mine. You better high-five me back. But seriously though, my ex is still awesome and we're still friends. Oh my God, not the one before that though. Oh my God, no. That bitch blocked me on Facebook. It says, the bright, brilliant goodness of Gideon, more like stupidity, shone across the blind eternities like a searchlight. There's so much wrong with that and contradictory in the lore, I don't even know where to start. Let me just sum it up by, no, that's not how that works. Especially since the mending. Get ready to get sci-fi as hell up in here. You ready for this? Jace felt his physical form shimmer and fade, and he stepped forward into the aether, accustomed... Oh my God, is it called the Blind Eternities, the Aether, or the something nothing? They've called it like 8 things just in this story. Anyway, he stepped forward into the Blind Eternities, accustomed to the sound and light that greeted him, even though those don't exist between planes. But something was wrong. Gideon's position on Dominaria was moving, not just at normal walking speed or mounted speed, but faster than he had any reason to be going. How was he moving like that? His heart began to race as he realized that he was going to need to aim. Just like getting up to take a piss at 2 a.m. Here we go again, guys. Time dilation fields, because just people love time travel. It's such a great... unique and authentic and not confusing at all sci-fi trope or whatever you want to call it. Cliche probably at this point because I think trope implies its character. I already don't want to read about Dominaria just after reading that one sentence. Oh, well, he's stuck in a speedy field and then they're in a slow field and then time. Because time travel and dilation is never confusing ever. Oh my God, you guys, they already ruined Dominaria. Like, people have been joking on my Discord channel, like, I can't wait to see how they ruined Dominaria. There it is, they already did it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and he's on a rocket blasting off into orbit around freaking Dominaria. That honestly would be great. So it says, Jace adjusted his course through the aether, keeping his destination locked on Gideon's position, quickly accounting for his velocity of travel. He tucked his arms into his sides, minutely shifted his course to match the speed of whatever the hell it was he was apparently going to land on, and felt as the Veil of Dominaria approached. He couldn't see his destination, of course, but he had the general idea of the size and shape of the thing he was aiming for. What gave Jace pause was the fact that Gideon appeared to be traveling at a very high velocity. He swore and adjusted his vector once more. What is he traveling on? That wasn't my commentary, like literally it says it in all caps and italics. I hope it's a rocket llama. That would be amazing. So it says Jace has got to be careful because he could accidentally planeswalk into a solid object, which I really didn't think was a thing that could happen, or planeswalk in front of the object that's traveling really fast and then get hit by it, which would be bad. So it says he basically finished the planeswalk and then immediately caught himself on a wall. Not really sure what that specifically means. Okay, and then it says he heard a creak of wood and the soothing hum of a machine. So then he says he realized he had landed on something slightly gooey and looked up to see who was nearby. The room was full of people staring back at him. Jace caught his breath and awkwardly waved. I think Jace might be autistic. I'm just throwing that out there. Oh, I know where he is. Oh, here we go. I don't know if I should spoil this for you guys. He says, hello, hi, sorry, I really didn't expect to land that. Oh, I get it. Okay, I didn't think that's where he was going with that. Had to adjust my trajectory because of your velocity. Jace shook the nervousness from his limbs and laughed. Wow, I've never planeswalked onto a moving object before. What exactly are we riding in? How is it powered? How fast are we going? Hey, it doesn't involve time dilation. Dominaria is saved. Yay! That only took 2 paragraphs. I'm just going to blurt it out. It's the Weatherlight. They didn't say it, but come on. It's the Weatherlight, guys. Why would this not be the Weatherlight, and how could it possibly not be the Weatherlight? And what else would Gideon be cruising around on, other than if he saw another giant cat goddess because he has some kind of weird cat fetish or furry thing? I don't freaking know. Hashtag Gideon's a furry. He looked from face to face and found absolutely no insight, which is odd considering he can read minds. He heard quick footsteps on metal and saw Gideon skid out from a nearby door, eyes wide and body frozen with shock. His expression was overcome with emotion. This was someone who was happy to the point of tears to see that he was alive. This was a friend. Oh, they're gonna bro hug, aren't they? This is gonna be the broest bro hug that's ever been bro hugged, because now they're both muscular as hell. Are you guys ready to go to the gun show? They're just immediately gonna see who can deadlift more weight. I guarantee it. So Jace greets him by saying, Gideon, I'm not dead, which is usually how I answer the phone. Hello, this is Des. I'm not dead. And then it says, he saw Gideon lurching forward to hug him, but one of the other people in the room abruptly stepped in his way. They interrupted the bro hug. That's it. There shall be retribution for this. Let me stop you right there. Why does it have to be a female? Is it because they feel like, oh, female representation? Oh, guess what? It says, she appeared to be in her 70s. Oh, we don't age discriminate. We only completely ignore any kind of ableist anything or people with disabilities on every card and every release and every character ever. By the way, I am way hyperbolic in how much I pretend to give a crap about this. I'm just pointing it out to make fun of their hypocrisy of their SJW nonsense. Their whole, we don't discriminate. Oh, but we do pick certain groups to pretend to not discriminate against. And then just ignore the rest. In other words, we do discriminate. That is like literally the dictionary definition of the word discriminate. She wore thick robes and her silver hair was tied in a loose, somewhat frizzy braid at her side. I'm trying to think who this would actually be. Like, I mean, we don't know how much time passed besides like the or before or after whatever the last Dominaria thing, but I feel like it would have been like a long time. But I also feel like they're like specifically mentioning a person. But it's not Urza because he's a dude. Also, I think he got his head cut off or something like that. So it just says she looked Jace up and down with a distant, amused, smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. I can't read today. The woman looked over her shoulder at Gideon and raised an eyebrow. Who's the bookworm? And then without a subtitle, we just go to the next section. So I guess we're back on Ixalan? I don't know. Just like end the sentence, show a picture of a dinosaur, and then it says, Etped Zach smiled as he watched the, we'll say Coco, because that's what it really is, tip from side to side in his cup. Oh, this is the section that okay. I think the, quote, dinosaurs, as the poll put it, won. By dinosaurs, they meant the Sun Empire, but I'm still holding out that little ray of hope that literally the dinosaurs won control of Orazca and kicked the Sun Empire out. Okay, so each lumbering step of the sauropod underneath his caravan, their way to give it away, nearly sent the liquid spilling over one side. That's why you bring a cover on your cup if you're going to travel, especially by giant dinosaur. So it says, part of him wondered if the River Heralds would think to take Orazca first, despite their agreement with Huatli, but the rest of him remembered how spineless they were. I'm pretty sure that fish typically have spines. This would be easy. So they got this whole like traveling thing that it says he never uses called the Royal Procession Platform, and they just like strapped the whole platform to their most like strong and tough Altasaur. So it says Huatli's return, interesting, so it's been a week, and the dinosaur she brought with her, oh god, it's a robot dinosaur, gave him all the reason he needed to order the platform cleaned and readied for his journey. So he was just waiting for Huatli to come back so that she could disagree with him some more, and then she just went along with it. This seems a bit, maybe kind of just sort of added to the end, just kind of stuffed into the story, whether it fits or not. Oh, but they explain it all away with, despite Huatli's insistence on a peace agreement, Etped Zach knew what was his. He had immediately sent a battalion of his strongest knights to clear the city, even though everybody had already left. And now he's basically just like on his way to claim it for the Sun Empire. The mission had gone off without a hitch. The city was empty, just like I literally just said. The River Heralds hadn't even tried, probably because they promised them a peace agreement to share it. That might be why. I'm just going to sum up the rest of this. Oh, wow, I did what my mother couldn't. Oh, cool, this place is really big. Wow, they really built it really tall back then. Their version of it was a little bit more flowery and well-written, but I like my version better. And he's like, ooh, history and ancestors and crap. Orazca is ours once more. The three aspects of the sun shine bright, and thus begins a new age of conquest for the Sun Empire. Ixalan is ours, and Torrezon is next. Stay tuned for the next episode where they go to war with Torrezon, and it's just one giant stereotypical Spain versus even ruder and less accurate stereotypical Mayan/Aztec mixed together. And then it just says the Magic storyline will resume in March 2018 in Dominaria. Which, okay, let me look it up. Did they actually change this again? Oh my god, I don't even remember how many times they flip-flopped this or when. But apparently now Dominaria is coming out first, before the core set. So April 27th, 2018 is the official release date, I guess. And then core set 2019 is coming out in 2018 because that makes sense. Let's see, on July 13th. And there's just an editor's note that says previous versions of this article had the incorrect launch dates and sales dates. Yes, they did. So, okay, apparently Dominaria is coming out before the core set now. All right. I am fairly certain that at some point that was flip-flopped, but all I know is like they moved it and then they moved one of them again and then they like moved something else and whatever. All I can say is thank God Dominaria doesn't necessarily involve time dilation. I thought for sure that's what it was because everything and everybody there was time dilated and it was so annoying. Like, I think the Planeswalker Teferi guy, like, accidentally lit himself on fire and then it took, like, 3 years to put him out because he was stuck in a time dilation field and they threw, like, a wet blanket on him and then just, like, forgot about him for 3 years because it was traveling so slow. And, I mean, they've already done that on, like, Star Trek. Pretty sure they've done it on, like, Stargate SG-1. I feel like Babylon 5 did that. I mean, come on, people. Oh, yeah, the collapsing into the black hole thing where they trapped the replicators. Yeah, they did do that on SG-1. Dude, that was, like, a really good episode. So anyway, I love chimichangas. This has been the worst version of the lore ever, and you should read the real one. I'll see you guys next video.